You're watching Rurouni K95's anime review on Soul Eater Not. Hi Ruronis, this is your pal Rurouni K95 here. Today's anime review, once again, we get to cover an anime series. This time it's basically a spin-off type anime series to the original Soul Eater. For today's anime review is Soul Eater Not. Soul Eater Not is a Japanese anime series which is aired from April 9th, 2014 to July 2nd, 2014. Yep, only 12 episodes. Because, come to think of it, we'll get to the manga part in just a moment for Soul Eater Not as well. So let's review Soul Eater Not. So the original Soul Eater series was a shonen battle romp done right. It was zany, high energy, and alternately funny and adrenaline pumping, but it had a distinctive, colorful, and lively art style that would make Tim Burton jealous, particularly, and an offbeat sensibility that separated in from most other shonen anime in general, as well as to many other shonen anime series in general, particularly. It was a show that bled attitude, simultaneously unique and recognizable as a shonen title. This show is considered a classic from the late 2000s in some circles, and rightfully so. In stark contrast, it is its spin-off. Soul Eater Not is a show that falls firmly into the conventions of its genre, in this case, the slice of life anime, which is probably for the most part. Well, that's particularly the real question is particularly if there's something how it's given in the title to explain what is going on in Soul Eater Not, even though it's is a spin-off of the original Soul Eater series as well. Well, that's not entirely true. Some of the magic that made the original such a blast is still there. However, it doesn't shine through nearly enough to overcome the decidedly overtreated tropes that dominate the show. This is perhaps why Soul Eater Not feels so lukewarm and why it will likely be disappointment fans of the original. I mean, for me, basically, the show is okay in my opinion, but I like the original Soul Eater more. But the series, I thought it was decent in my opinion as well. But as recently as well. The show isn't bad for what it's trying to do, and certainly some nifty things to offer what is going on in this spin-off series, because it takes place sometime before the main story. Some of the fun comes from seeing the original cast from the original Soul Eater series pop up, yeah, and get a little insight on how a few of them we get to see Liz and Patty's edges often as they go from hardened street thugs to quirky sisters, from the original Soul Eater series. Yeah. For the record, though, it was also neat to see the beginning of Kim and Jacqueline's partnership and why Sid is a zombie in this anime. That is the question. However, the most important bit of the information that show offers is that not all the students in Death Weapon Meister Academy and badass fighters. Some weapons and meisters are just learning how to control their powers so they can live normal lives. These students are not put into the class particularly. Some such students are the three heroines of the show, Tsugumi, Mime, and Anya. They're a rather odd trio in that Tsugumi is the only weapon of the three, while Mime and Anya are both meisters, since partnerships usually consists only one meister, though it can have multiple weapons. It's up to Tsugumi to choose who her partner will be. Of course, with Tsugumi being the archetypical nice yet indecisive heroine that she is, that this is the one of the central plot lines of the show. Much of the show's duration is spent with the trio getting to misadventures and deepening their friendship with the appearances and cameos from the original cast sprinkled in. Needless to say, this means the show is largely light-hearted fare with tons of silly shenanigans and a lot of quaint scenes of cute girls doing cutesy things. What you see in Soul Eater Not as well. Yep. Though of course it had some dramatic moments mixed in. Yeah. Being set in a zany place as DWMA, there is no shortage of the strange situations for the girls to encounter or colorful personalities for them to meet. It's light and comfortable and has a quaint charm to it, but unfortunately, it also greatly lacks inspiration. Tsugumi, Mime, and Anya are ultimately two plain of protagonists. They don't have the extremely distinctive quirks and personalities of the original cast as well, what you see in Soul Eater Not particularly as well. It often feels like someone grabbed the protagonists of the generic School Academy A and dropped them into the Soul Eater universe. The humor can often also come across as uninspired and not necessarily unfunny to see what is going on in Soul Eater Not. Just because, but just too commonplace in the slice of life anime, nonetheless, the material has a feeling of being done before multiple times, which diminishes the show's charm. It dilutes the twisted weirdness that made Soul Eater so appealing to begin with. Like watering it down in some inferior at the times, it honestly feels like a waste of the setting. I mean, what is it with cutesy and slice of life moments and some dramatic parts in Soul Eater Not? Because that is the real question to explain to find something what is going on in Soul Eater Not as well. Well, of course, this belonging to the franchise that it does, there is a plot line that involves fighting and nefarious schemes lurking beneath the slice of life antics. Citizens of Death City are going on sprees of violence under the control of a witch. Sid and other DWMA staff are trying to find the witch causing these attacks before things get worse. But by how what's going on, and while Tsugumi and her friends are blissfully unaware of the unseen threat, they soon find themselves right in the middle of all, in a stark contrast to the fluffiness of most of the show's material. This plotline is omnibus and creepy. The tonal shift is honestly rather jarring, especially when an episode which is mostly contains light-hearted shenanigans, what you see in Soul Eater Not, has an eerie scene that has a threat written in what can only be assumed to be blood. The end the episode off as well. It doesn't go well what you see with the rest of the show's content because tonally it is the opposite side of the spectrum in Soul Eater Not, which is such a sort of a shame because the best part of the show is the darker plot line. Shala, the younger sister of Medusa and Arcane from the first Soul Eater series, which is a menacing presence. She lurks around in the shadows, plotting chaos and murder. That's how you see what is going on in Soul Eater, not particularly as it was, because many certain characters from the original Soul Eater series appeared in Soul Eater Not as well. So gleefully in her evil that it's almost infectious. The show always gets more interesting whenever she makes an appearance to disrupt the typical slice of life fluff, and it's her villainy that provides the show with its most striking and memorable moment. A day at the market that takes horrific fun. It also puts Tsugumi and her friends through an emotional ringer, giving their relationship so much needed conflict. Unfortunately, the show never strikes a balance to make the tones fit together. It culminates in a less than spectacular final battle, at least for this franchise, what you see in Soul Eater Not as well. On the technical side, Soul of things, Soul Eater Not is also a step down from the original series, but it's still a good looking show for the most part. I mean, the character designs are cutesier than before, especially from the very beginning, which is a certain to rub some fans the wrong way. However, the world retains the off-kilter and colorful outlandishness, and that makes it stand out as unique, particularly. Creepy laughing sun and all. The animation concerning the character's body language and the behavior is pretty solid. However, the action sequences are oddly spotty as well. Some fight look good, some look average, and some look genuinely bad. Even at their best, the action sequences are here and never reach the acceleration and the excitement of those for the first series you see in Soul Eater Not particularly. The music is pleasant, fits the show tonally in both its silly and serious moments when Soul Eater Not, and is used accordingly. However, it's not just a soundtrack that will be memorable or that supports the content in any spectacle way. It does its job and a little more than that. But overall, for Soul Eater Not, if you're a fan of Soul Eater and what's the perfect way to start with, I suggest you could start watching Soul Eater anime series, like the original first series, before you watch Soul Eater Not, which is another series particularly for what you see in this anime as well. Despite how I look back on my previous anime review on Soul Eater, which it all has got to me, and yes, Soul Eater Not is basically a spin-off of the main series Soul Eater, and yes, it is based on the Japanese manga series of the same name, written and illustrated by Atsushi Okubo as well. To explain how it's given in the title, technically, to explain about many other anime spin-offs, how they use the same certain events from an older anime series, and they wanted to make like a new show, especially when it comes to how they created Soul Eater Not. They had to use some characters from the original Soul Eater series for the spin-off series as well, and that is how it takes the cake, particularly of how to explain what it is about Soul Eater Not, particularly. And yes, that's how Anime News Network had 4 editors review the first episode of the anime. Rebecca Silverman expressed the intrigue in the series. She praised the character of the Tsugumi Harudoni for being interesting and introducing the world the story takes place in, concluding by saying that it deserves more episodes to see how it will move forward from that, particularly of how what they had a lot to do for the anime series like Soul Eater Not. And that is particularly the reason even though that I have been looking back on my previous anime review on Soul Eater, which was last year, which it all has got to me, Soul Eater Not is particularly like a spin-off to the main series, which is Soul Eater as well. And that's probably the reason why I never got into Artemis Fowl. But anyway, so if you're an anime fan, and what is the first anime spin-off series to start with after watching the original Soul Eater series, you give Soul Eater Not, which is probably a watch, and you see how to explain to see what is going on in Soul Eater Not particularly. As it was to many other spin-offs on any certain anime titles in general, 2 are less than the satisfactory results for the credibility of how when it comes to spin-off anime titles as well. And if you haven't seen this, give this one a watch. So that's going to be it for my anime review on Soul Eater Not for today's anime review. Thank you for watching, but before we go, here's my thoughts on this. When I first watched this, I didn't know that this was a spin-off of the original Soul Eater series. Even though I have been watching both Soul Eater and Soul Eater Not, I have been experiencing of how they used slice of life and some dramatic parts in Soul Eater Not. It's been a while since I watched this on Tubi TV. If you want to see this, check it out. You can watch it for free on Tubi TV, or you can get it on DVD as well. Hope subscribe for content. My anime pilot link is description down below. You can share this video on your Twitter, Facebook if you have Twitter, Facebook account, and all social media. Be sure to give this video a thumbs up by clicking on the like button on this video. Feel free to leave in the comments section below. Be sure to subscribe to my channel, RuRoniK95. Feel free to join my channel, especially if you're new to my channel. Hit the notifications bell button. Keep it otaku for this anime review on Soul Eater Not, and I've got another anime review coming up next. What I have here. Stay tuned for my next anime review. I got another anime review that I haven't reviewed before for tomorrow's anime review on Bakuman. Stay tuned for my next anime review on Bakuman, because you won't want to miss another anime review.